Hi and Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 6. We will be presenting about a modern business environment, which is cost reduction program. So in this group, it consists of two members, which is myself, Anislia Batrisha binti Syamuddin, and a friend of mine, Nur Alia Zafira binti Mashihuddin. So these are the contents that we will discuss during this presentation. The first one is the current problem of the company, which is Prabut Nusajaya Sdn Bhd, the introduction and definition of cost reduction program, characteristics, objectives, and implementation of the methods, advantages and the disadvantages that comes with the methods, other relevant recommendation as well as the conclusion. So we're going to start off with the current problem. Alia, you can proceed.
Okay, thank you, Anis. So first and foremost, before we going through the slide, let's take what's the problem that Prabut Nusajaya Sdn Bhd faces. So basically, there's new competitors that offer a cheaper price and functional furnishing fits both houses and offices that calls IKEA. This leads Prabut Nusajaya Sdn Bhd to lose some customer and suffer losses. Therefore, PNSB should revise the cost in making their product. In the passage, it stated that Ashran never aware about the cost planning and cost control of the production and never applied the cost reduction program in the company. Hence, it comes to consequences that the company will face loss and decrease in cash flow. Also, the company will face inconsistent in desired profit and actual profit. So next slide, I will give it back to Anis for the definition of cost reduction program.
Okay, so the meaning of cost reduction program can be simplified to a plan in order to cut expenses of the organization to improve profits and the cash flows. So cost reduction can be employed in two different situations, which is, as you can see, the first one is short-term declining and the second one is long-term declining. For short-term, it focuses more on the discretionary costs such as advertising, employees training, as well as the maintenance costs. Whereas for the long-term declining, it focuses more on cutting off any products that generate less profit or less inflow of cash for the long term of the business. So for example, let's say you have product A and B, and product B is not making even comparable amount of inflow of returns to the company, then the company should reduce the cost of making product B. So, and the next one is that cases of when a company can utilize this method. The first one is if it experiences budget miss, declining margin, losing money, cost out of control, or eroding competitiveness, which I believe is what is being faced by Prabut Nusajaya Sdn Bhd currently.
Alright, moving on to the third part, which are the characteristic, objective, and implementation of the cost reduction program. So let's go through one by one, starting from the characteristic. Basically, there's lots of characteristics, but I picked only 6 that seems relevant and easier to understand, which are, for the first one, aim at improving the standards, corrective function, continuous, dynamic, and innovative in nature, add thinkings and analysis to action at all level of management. For the fourth point, applicable in every activities in the business. And the last point is not concerned with setting targets and standards. So for the next slide. As we know, every little things in life also has their own objective. Same goes to the cost reduction program, where the main reason of the cost reduction program is to cut the unnecessary expenses. This will improve the profitability of the company and to get a better result in the cash flow. As we know, in the passage has stated that the company Prabut Nusajaya Sdn Bhd has faces a decrease in cash flow and also faces a huge loss. By cutting the unnecessary expenses, the company can increase the cash flow. Hence, they will also improve in the profit. Usually, the unnecessary expenses occurs during production, storage, and selling process. Moreover, bring down the cost per unit of a commodity or service is also one of the objectives of cost reduction program by changing the methods of production and increase in productivity. Moreover, the company can use the cost reduction program not as temporary but as permanently, because when the company use it temporarily, the sooner or later the input prices will rise eventually. Therefore, it will also cause the production cost increasing. So for the next one, I will move on for the implementation of the cost reduction program. I took few of the implement that can be applied in the Prabut Nusantara Sedang Berhad business, which are, for the first point is make a plan. The company can evaluate where the company will go for the future. Either they want to expand the business or they want to produce more products such as a cupboard, a table, or even a chair. So by planning for the future, they can expand a thing that related to the future strategies. For the next point, the company can track the expenses by gathering all the data for every expenses that has been made. In instance, they can track either the expenses has reached the company maximum limit or not. So whenever the expenses has reached the maximum limit, so for the next production, the company should reduce the limit to the budgeted production. So for the last one, the company can use robots for operation. The company can exchange the labor with machine or robot based. This has been proven by the research that the company used machine will increase the productivity and reduce the cost of labor. Moreover, robots can be used for a wide range of function that usually done by highly paid workers. Therefore, by using a robot for operation, the company can reduce the cost of labor to produce their product. So that's all for me. Moving on for the next slide. Anis?
Okay, so the advantages of cost reduction program, it could influence Prabut Nusantara Sedang Berhad in three main aspects. The first one is profit, the second one is productivity, and lastly, improving standards. So let's look at the first one, which is profits. The company can maintain same level of sales and the sales prices but with lower costs, meaning the process of reducing cost exists will be unlikely to affect the number of transactions made to the company. So the number of product as well as their item rates can be remain untouched. Subsequent to that, this is just a little additional benefits to it, is that the money received due to the sales that was not swayed by the changes can be used to invest in other businesses to generate more profits. It's kind of like a win-win situation for me, because you gain money from this business and then you invest it in another business to generate more income. The second aspect is productivity. It can be measured in both the productivity of the item sold or their product as well as the productivity of the employees. So the first point is able to produce more goods available for consumer at a cheaper price, where in this case, on top of the chance to be able to offer such affordable price, the demand of the product would eventually increase, because let's be honest, who wouldn't love a cheap item in the market? So the second one is long tenured workers improve the quality of their work as they realize that the company is practicing micromanaging. So the logic to this is that when the employees realize that the company is in the effort of reducing costs, they will be afraid of being fired, and this could lead them to give a better work quality in order to keep their position safe. Also, I would say it's kind of like a win-win situation, because not only you can create your product at a cheaper price, but also you will have a team of employees that work more efficiently. Lastly, but not the least, is the standard. Constant search for improvement. When reducing the cost, the company must have wished to maintain the quality of their product. So, in order to achieve this, how can Prabut Nusantara Sedang Berhad do this, or to achieve have to achieve maintain their quality. So they will have to keep on improving on their part, such as like making research on what kind of material they can use to give that give the same characteristic but at a slightly cheaper price. So on the next one is that in order to develop this method, Prabhu Nusajaya Sdn Bhd should also consider the disadvantages that comes with it. The first one is quality may be sacrificed. As per what I mentioned just now, if you're lucky or have done a great research, maybe you have to face this issue. Otherwise, this could be one of the main problems or the huge problems that you have to face. So cost reduction may result in a lower standard of a product in terms of the quality, because when you reduce the cost of making it, you're actually putting your product in risk of it's not being as good as the ones that you had produced with a lot higher cost before. The next one is that the company might also have to reduce the quantity of their employees in order to proceed with these methods. Hence, the program may not be liked by the employees. So the disadvantages is maybe some of the employees might be riot or might disagree with these changes. Lastly is that every method has positive and negative outcomes, especially organizations like Perabot Nusajaya, where before this, they don't really take much consideration about their cost planning to suddenly wanting to imply a method. Thus, the change of processes within this company can possibly lead to some additional losses. So the next one is cost reduction techniques. Alia will explain it to you.
Okay, so now I'll be explaining about the cost reduction techniques. There are a few techniques that Prabot Nusajaya Sdn Bhd can use to reduce the cost, which are, for the first one is budgetary control. Budgetary control is a tool for management to plan, carry out and control the operation of the business. The company can compare the actual cost and the budgeted cost. So when the actual cost has exceed the budgeted cost that the company has made, the company should reduce the cost for the next production in order to achieve the budgeted cost. So for the next one is the inventory control. Inventory control to check the stock of the business to ensure the right amount of supply is available and there is no surplus that will cause a waste. It's okay to face a deficit because they can reorder the raw material for the production. But when the company faces a surplus in the stock, the company not only face a loss, but they face a huge wastage that can bring a lot of loss. So for the next slide, are ways to achieve cost reduction. As I said, the cost reduction program can be applied in the company but will not achievable if the company ignores the method. I choose a few of the methods, which are, for the first one is the increase level productivity. The company can hire lots of workers which will produce more goods, but if the company don't want to hire lots of labor, there are other alternatives that the company can take, which are they can use a robot base, as I said before, to produce their product more efficiently. So for the second point, the company can purchase more efficient materials. Anis stated that the company considered lucky if they can purchase the same or slightly high quality material with a cheaper price. Therefore, the company can make a research to find a supplier that can offer the good quality material with a cheaper price in order to produce a better production in the business. For the last point, adopting economic order quantity. This method is a very ideal order quantity in order to minimize the inventory. because the company can identify the optimal number of products units to order, which it will lead to reduce the cost and get rid of wastage. Okay, that's all. I will pass it back to Anis to conclude all the presentation that we've made.
Okay. So to conclude this discussion of cost reduction method, as per what has been discussed earlier, this method can help Perabot Nusajaya Sdn Bhd to eliminate any redundant or unnecessary expenses within its company. The second one is establishing standards that can increase the profits, as the possibility of the number of sales to be affected is very low by using this method, cost reduction method. Lastly, but I think one of the most important thing to know is that the management of Perabot Nusajaya Sdn Bhd needs to bear in mind that the functional requirements and quality should not be compromised. Hence, the research of improvement is highly recommended for this to become a success, because again, you want to reduce the cost, but you want to keep the quality of the product to be intact. So that is all from us. Thank you so much.